All right, good afternoon. So, Big Country Time Sports. We're playing Football Time. My Football Time Complete book still has not arrived in the mail, so we're going to use Football Time. Still playing my Minnesota Vikings campaign. Minnesota defeated Dallas in a comeback, 21-17 second half, 21-point comeback. At St. Louis, they came back in the second, 113-9. The New York Titans, they defeated 20-17 on a final drive. Tarkington drives them down the field, and they kick a chip shot field goal to win that ball game. Now we're at Washington, and remember, it's the 62 teams, but they're playing games against teams that they never saw in real life. So this is completely fictional schedule, basically. Washington, so we're at Washington at D.C. Stadium. Bill McPeak is the coach of the Washington Redskins, and of course Minnesota, coached by Norm Van Brocklin. And we are at D.C. Stadium, District of Columbia Stadium. Washington at this point is 2-0-1. Minnesota is 3-0 in a shocking display. All of them, for the most part, Tarkington. Now this will be a little different. This is a possession-based game. I don't have my Football Time Complete, so I can play out the whole game yet. That will be hopefully arriving in the mail in the next couple of days, and hopefully it's intact and not destroyed, run over, torn, who the hell knows. But we will be using Football Time. And for scoring, I'm going to be using a possession deck for the details. So, let's get it started. Washington will have the ball first. Washington is using a D offense for the game. Normally you would roll this 2 to determine odds, runs, passes, etc., but I don't need to, so we got that. I may roll this just to give me information as to who might make the interception, etc. Right? So I'm going to leave that here, though. All right, so here we go. The Washington Redskins with the ball first at home using the D column. 2. They're going to get a turnover. What kind of turnover do they get? They get an interception, so they are picked off. It's going to be intercepted. So quarterback Sneed, intercepted by, and this is where I'll roll, is going to be intercepted by Osborne, the linebacker, and Minnesota takes over. Minnesota's using the C chart, and 2, they're going to get a turnover. Their turnover is a 54-yard missed field goal. Oh, Christopherson, a 54-yard field goal, no good. A long banger. All right, Washington's going to score a touchdown. How do they score their touchdown? It's a 1-yard run TD, and that's going to be for Bosler. So the fullback, Bosler, 1-yard run, extra point for these guys is automatic, PAT, and we are done with that. Okay, here we go. So just like what's happened in the APOG games is Minnesota fell behind in every game but the last one. Here they are now down despite the interception and a field goal chance. They're behind Washington at home, but Minnesota's going to turn it over now. This is straight up turnover, fumbled the ball away. And that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stonebreaker, the tight end. So this would be a catch and a fumble. Stonebreaker, fumble loss, recovered by, oh wait, let's roll both. Recovered by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The left cornerback, that makes sense. Left cornerback, Stephen, fumble recovery. There we go. Washington, second quarter, Minnesota 0, Washington 7. So it's playing out just like Appaw, right? Minnesota behind. So let's see if Washington can extend their lead. Nope, it's going to be a turnover, and that turnover is a fumble of their own, and it's going to be Sneed coughs it up. Sneed, fumble loss, recovered by Hawkins, the middle linebacker, falls on the ball. Hawkins, fumble recovery. Tarkington, can they tie it up with Fran? Yep, they sure do. Minnesota Vikings go right down the field. It is a 10-yard pass. So it's going to be Tarkington, 10-yard pass to Stonebreaker. So they get it back to Stonebreaker after he coughed it up on the last one. 100% extra point, PAT, and Tarkington now has knotted the game. Here we go. Washington is going to turn it over. Fumble, another fumble. This one, Sneed hammered again. Sneed, fumble lost. Who recovers it? 10 is going to be Lamb son, fumble recovery. And the Minnesota, before halftime, they're going to miss a field goal. Missed field goal. What is it? It is missed field goal, 33-yard. Dang, Christopherson. A missed field goal of 33. But, folks, it is 7-7. You got to be kidding me. Snead with 2 fumbles in the second. They could have been fumbled from the center or fumbled with a sack, something like that. All right, Minnesota gets the ball to start the second. And again, this team has started slow and has managed to have their best games in the second half, or the best time in the second half. Yep, they're going to get a field goal. This field goal is 34 yards. So Christopherson, who's missed 2, with a 34-yard field goal, gives them the lead. Washington now chasing them. 5 is going to be a field goal of their own. And this is Kayat. He's going to hit a 38-yarder. Folks, we got us a ball game. Minnesota, 3 is going to be a punt. That's our first punt. And Washington, 6. Touchdown. Oh, my God. It's going to be a 1-yard run. For who? For Bosler. So Bosler punches it in again. 1-yard run. The extra point is good. And holy cow, we get 3 from Minnesota and 10 from Washington. It is currently 10-17 going into the fourth. Minnesota must score touchdowns. 4, it's going to be a field goal. They're going to keep adding field goals. Christopherson. And that field goal is 45-yard boomer for him. 3 is a punt for Washington. Minnesota, 3 is a punt. Uh-oh, they're in trouble. And Washington gets another touchdown late to put this game away, giving Minnesota their first loss of the year. It's a one-tart. So Snead, who had such a tough time, 1-yard pass to, and that's going to be Mitchell. Bobby Mitchell. PAT is good, folks. Christopherson hits another field goal, 7 for Washington. That's 10. That's 13-24. Minnesota falls to 3-1. They were a surprising 3-0-1. Are Washington in their conference, or in their division? Holy cow, folks! So this time, Tarkington manages to throw a touchdown, but no comeback for Tarkington in this one, as Washington is now 3-0-1. Minnesota falls to 3-1. This will be their first loss, and it is 13-24. They play the San Diego Chargers from the AFL next, and San Diego right here, they're a CD, so this ought to be a decent matchup for Minnesota next time on the Minnesota campaign trail. Again, I want to play this entire little schedule out just because I fell in love with Minnesota, and I decided I want to go ahead and play them out. Of course, I want to play with my game. So let's see here. The last game they won, 20-17, scoring 10 in the second half. Gave up 14 to the Titans in the fourth, but fortunately it wasn't enough. Minnesota had a comeback here and scored 13 second half unanswered points to win that ball game. And then, of course, Dallas, they scored 21. I think I've talked about this. And here we go, folks. This game turns out Washington gets the 17 after halftime. And ball game's there, right there, folks. San Diego will be next up from Minnesota on this campaign. So just to give you an idea, I chose all the teams that Minnesota did not play in the NFL in '62. That's Dallas, St. Louis, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, and then I filled out the schedule with teams that are, kind of around Minnesota's quality. In the AFL, Denver, Oakland, Buffalo, and the San Diego Chargers. Depending on how we finish, I will compare them to the real-life playoff teams. And if we qualify to play Houston in the playoffs, so be it. And then, of course, if we beat Houston, we would then play Green Bay in the NFL Championship. So how I would have it set up is that if we end up doing better than in our simulated schedule, if we do better than the team that faced Houston, who was the Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Texans, right? If our schedule turns out better than the Dallas Texans, we would place Houston in the playoff, and then Green Bay if we won that in the championship. So I've already got the playoff team set. I've already got the championship game set. And why Houston? Because they were an AFL team that Minnesota never played in real life. And of course, Green Bay, they did play them in real life, but Green Bay was a 13-1 juggernaut. They would be the Super Bowl or the world champion representatives. And that's what I'm doing here, right, with the 62 Minnesota team. So Minnesota now in Washington goes to the bottom because we are done with Washington. And there we go, folks. I'll do the next game. This deck is made for now all of my football time. I don't need it. Many of my football time games tell you there's actual tables for scoring, for yardage, etc. in the football time books. However, I don't want to just pick up and roll the 6 over and over and over and over. So I thought it would be fun to have this. Plus, this gives me details like ranges, what kind of turnovers, how far the field goals are missed, how far the field goals are made. I'm using real life averages for punts, kick returns, punt returns. For when I play the full simulation, I will use the real life averages as well as PAT percentages. So if a guy did not miss a kick, he won't miss a kick. And I'm doing it, if they did miss a PAT, I will roll to see if they miss a PAT when they score. I will be using this exact same system for the 2025 Canadian season that I'm playing. Those who may remember, I've been playing the Canadian game. Week 6 is coming up in another few days. This is Week 6 coming up. Week 5 is in the bag. Well, actually, I may have done a week early, so Week 5 is in the bag. I'm not certain where we're at. Is it Week 6? I'm in Week 6. I don't know where the real CFL is. The point is, I will be using new teams that have been created based on the real CFL statistics that are out now. I was able to download the CFL League Statistic PDF and was able to build teams for my game using those now. So I can't say it's going to be more accurate, but it allows me now to enjoy my game for the CFL stuff. And the teams have already been redrawn. So Saskatchewan's 4-0, and then, by the way, in my pre-play, they're 4-0 as well. So this team is 4-0 in real life, 4-0 in my pre-play, or I should say in my play-along. I have, of course, the numbers for who makes touchdowns and touchdown receptions. I have the real-life punt average, real-life kick and punt returns. I have the place kicking conversion numbers. I have the ratings for this game. And then, of course, I have the sacks, tackle for loss, and interceptions here as well as the... so now I will be able to do exactly the same thing I was doing with DTF, but with my game, big football time. Again, I want to do it with football time complete, so when I have really big matchups in either of my play-alongs, my 62 Minnesota campaign or this, I'll be able to play the full simulator, also using my ratings. So part of the reason I'm moving to my game is it allows me to play score by quarter, score by possession, and full-blown simulation. So when I have the big games that I want to see fully played out, I can do that with my game. DTF is just, not just, DTF's amazing, but there's no way for me to play DTF as a full simulator when I'm ready, when I want to. For instance, I can imagine when I get to the New York Giants, I'm going to want to play that game out. When I get to the Cleveland Browns with Jimmy Brown, I'm going to play that game out. So there's a couple of games on the schedule I'm going to play completely out for the Minnesota team. The Canadian game, who knows which games I'm going to want to play. Depends on the matchups. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.